All right, my guest this week is none other than the car mom, Kelly Stumpe. Welcome to Everybody Pulls the Tarp.
Thank you so much for having me, Andrew. I'm so excited.
Kelly, I am excited to talk to you. So I have to admit, I didn't know about your Instagram account until a month or two ago when my wife pointed me to it, and she said, "Andrew, you have got to check out the car mom. This thing is out of control. It's an amazing community that Kelly has built." So let's break it down for my listeners, Kelly. So in just about a year, you have launched the car over the last year. You have launched the car mom. You've built this incredible community online. You have over 1 million YouTube views on your reviews of cars for moms and families. You've built this community on Instagram of nearly 200,000 people, and you're engaging every day with this amazing mission that where you dedicate yourself essentially to empowering moms and families to make great car buying decisions. But I think your story is so much bigger than that, Kelly, because you are building something from the ground up and you're drawing upon all these different aspects of your life to do it. I can't wait to talk all about it with you. So, Kelly, where I want to start is, how did the idea for the car mom come about?
Yeah, so the idea came about during the pandemic. So I was 20 weeks pregnant with my daughter. And since dealerships were deemed like an essential business, we had to remain open the whole time. And I also had a toddler at home. So I just started to really reflect like how difficult this like new pandemic world was when you were pregnant and when you had a toddler, and honestly how it could be a little intimidating and scary. And I thought, well, shoot, I don't even want to take my toddler to Target or to the grocery store, like let alone a car dealership. So I kind of started to look at some of my resources. And I was like, well, I work at a car dealership. I know everything that goes into buying a vehicle and how tedious the process can be. I also know how valuable time can be as a mother. So, like, what if I could just do like some car reviews or some car tours and just kind of give mothers like a first look into what these cars look like? Because as someone who sells cars, like I know that if you want to look in the trunk of a Toyota Highlander, you have to go to a dealership, meet a salesperson, give them your license, give them your phone number, have them call you for 90 days, meet the manager, get pressured into payments. Also, you can see as your shoulder doesn't even fit in the trunk. So I was like, if I could just take mothers' lists from 5 cars that they're interested in to 3 cars, well, that's 2 afternoons that I've just saved a mom. And that time is very valuable. So that's kind of where my inspiration came from.
But to me, this my understanding is the story even is like goes back further than that, right? Because I mean, selling cars and being in the car business almost runs in your family. Is that correct?
Yeah, so my grandpa and his brother started a used car lot in 1957 in St. Louis. And then my dad and his brother grew it to a multi store franchise, having up to 5 different brands. And then I started a blog. So I'm the third generation to be into the car business, but I started selling cars in 2016. I've been in the car business ever since. Absolutely like my favorite industry in the world. And I love, love, love selling cars.
What about it brings you so much passion and energy?
Well, I love connecting with people. And I think when it comes to car sales specifically, I just really always enjoyed being like a breath of fresh air as not what you picture as your typical car salesman. So I just always loved being able to connect with people, kind of, break down that barrier. And then ultimately, like at the root of buying a new car, people are very excited. It's a brand new car. And it's and it's so fun and it's so amazing. And so my dad always told me that people love to buy cars, but they hate to feel sold. So I never approached my sales as like, oh, I'm like selling you, but just connecting with you, being genuine, really finding out which car, meets your needs, and then just connecting with people. I love it.
So Kelly, I mean, you mentioned it there. You know, you said a breath of fresh air in the industry, right? A male-dominated industry. You know, for years, right? You walk into car dealerships, and it's almost 99%
Yeah.
men selling the cars and the managers and at the dealerships, et cetera. For whether it's selling cars or whatever, like what for you was the biggest challenge, kind of stepping into an environment maybe where you were a little bit different than the common person typically sitting in the seat?
Yeah. I think that so it's so funny because the fun fact about me is I've never actually bought a car in my life. So people are always, so sometimes people say, well, you never bought a car. So like, how could you possibly connect to your audience? But I tell them like um, the same struggles that women face when buying a cars are the same struggles that I face while selling cars. Like you still deal with it on either side of the aisle. And it's just, the constant need to feel like you're being disrespected, feeling like you have to prove yourself, feeling like no one's taking you seriously. So I've really been able, I think, to relate to my audience as someone who is a woman in a male dominated industry, but I also like didn't know anything about buying a car before I started selling cars. I had never bought a car. My parents had never bought cars. We've always just driven dealerships cars. So like I hadn't when I first started selling cars, I didn't even know you had to pay sales tax. Like I was just so ignorant and naive to the entire process. So I really used that to my benefit because I know what it's like to have no idea anything about buying a car. So I've really been able to like teach it in a way that it's very simplified and easy to understand.
I think that's incredibly powerful there, Kelly. I mean, I think the fact that you approach something with some level of like naivete, right?
Yeah.
They always say, right? I mean, I have little kids just like you. Mine are 6 and 3. They always say if you want to explain something, try and figure out how you'd explain it to a little kid, right? That
Yeah.
takes all the jargon out and the technical terms, and you simplify it. And I think there is something to that. In terms of like building connection with people, how do you go about doing that?
I think that I just always try to be super relatable. I've been relatable my whole life. I've tried to be relatable when selling cars. And now that I'm in this social media space, everyone always talks about how nothing on social media is real. And like, it's just a highlight reel and everyone's just, but so everyone always talks about the gripes of social media, but very few influencers actually put themselves out there so authentically like I do. And it honestly just comes so natural to me because I'm quite frankly just too lazy to do it any other way. Like if I had to have a full face of makeup on every time I went on my Instagram stories, I would have never been successful. But just being able to go on my stories and just be a real person and share all of the victories and all of the struggles that come along with being a working mom. I think it's really just really opened up my community and allowed me to relate to so many people.
I think that's such a powerful lesson, Kelly. I mean, and so often we've talked on this show with so many guests about the Instagram highlight reel, that Instagram is everybody's highlight reel. Social media is everybody's highlight reel. I've shared a story before. I started doing this Mistake Monday thing where I felt like one day I just needed to, every Monday start sharing with my community mistakes I made throughout my career. And one of people's favorite stories is this. I was so amped up about this business meeting probably 7 or 8 years ago that I showed up a week early, and it was 3.5 hours away on a train.
Oh my gosh.
And everybody always looks and they're like, Andrew, it looks like you've got it all figured out. It's all you've got everything so organized. I'm like, well, no. Let me show you the blooper reel, and then you'll see that it's actually pretty complicated getting things done. I think for you, Kelly, one of the things that's impressed me in following your story is how authentic you are and how you kind of hang it all out there, right? And whether it's the car mom broccoli, which I know has become kind of this thing, or a week or so ago you post on Instagram about some tips to keep your car. I love it, right? Tips to keep your car clean with kids. Top 1, you can't. 2, find a new dream, right? I mean, how much more relatable can the car mom get than that, right?
Exactly.
But for you, Kelly, it's just who you are.
Yeah. It really is. People meet me in public and they're like, oh my gosh, I feel like I know you. And I'm like, no, like you do know me. Like you know me very well, actually.
So how, let's talk about the business side of this thing. So the idea comes along. How do you go from this idea and a couple of videos to business?
Well, I set out. So when I came up with the idea for the car mom, I knew it was going to be. I mean, I really just have always had confidence in the idea. I didn't totally know what it was going to look like, especially on like a monetization front. Like I didn't totally have a plan or an idea, but I was like, I'll just start this. We'll see what happens. And now we've really been able to, I think it's very easy to monetize a platform if you have an audience to share things with. So we've really I think I'm pretty proud of like the job we've done to monetize the car mom on so many different fronts. So, one of the biggest decisions we made was moving our car tours from Instagram to YouTube. And it was a hard decision because I think everyone really likes the convenience of it being on Instagram. But in reality, Instagram doesn't monetize your paid views, or excuse me, Instagram doesn't monetize your views, which is frustrating as a content creator who would spend, hours doing a car tour, hours editing the car tour, and then just to throw it up on Instagram and not get anything for it was a little disheartening. Also, Instagram didn't do a very good job of organizing my content. I mean, if you wanted, you can't go to my Instagram page and search for my Toyota Highlander tour like you can on YouTube. YouTube's more of a search engine. So really going to YouTube has been really great for us. And then we also have monetized on other ways. We sell a car shopping workbook, which is a PDF download that walks you through, selecting a good car for your family. I offer consultations. We sell merchandise. So we sell car magnets specifically that have handprints on them, a child's handprint. And the thought behind the car magnets are, if anyone has multiple children, they'll know how stressful it is to try to like load and unload multiple kids at once. So the hand magnets are there to give your toddler a place to safely put their hand so that they're not like, it's just kind of a visual aid for the toddler. So if you're in the Target parking lot trying to unload your newborn, you tell your toddler to put his hand on the hand magnet and he stays next to the vehicle. So we've really just had a lot of fun exploring all of the different platforms, all the different ways to monetize. It's been really fun.
What's been the biggest surprise for you so far, Kelly? Because you've had a lot of success in a short period of time.
Yes. I think I've just been very surprised. It's a good question. I mean, I've definitely been surprised with how much of my audience turns out to be car people. I mean, I just people all the time are like, I never knew I was interested in cars. I didn't even know that there were this many women interested in vehicles. So that's been really exciting, just like see how many like-minded women there are like me and like other people. And then ultimately I'm really proud of our success and that I've been able to make this my full-time job. It's my sister's full-time job. And we have another girl who it's her full-time job. So just being able to, be that lucrative has been super exciting for us.
So let's talk about this from like the other lens, right? Because you're making the lives of moms and families a lot easier in the car buying process. You're empowering people. You're giving people all kinds of new confidence in a process that's an expensive, complicated, often painful process, as you talked about earlier. What about the other side of the business that you know well, the car dealership, that side of the business? I would imagine that you're making their lives easier as well because you're bringing kind of these kind of more intelligent, kind of more up to speed, confident people ready to make quicker decisions. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, I have dealerships love my content. And it's so funny because sometimes I'll get messages from my followers and be like, I can't believe, like, do the dealerships get mad that you're like sharing their secrets? And I'm like, I'm not sharing anybody's secrets. I mean, there's like, it's no secret that dealerships make a profit when they sell a car. Like that's not a secret. Dealerships, honestly, we've been on kind of an uphill battle for, in my opinion, like the last 7 to 10 years, because we're really trying to change the way people look at the car business. I mean, everyone tells us they hate negotiating. Everyone hates it. So then dealerships are trying to do more transparent pricing to just to make it a better experience. But I think sometimes the consumers, they just don't have the trust that they just don't trust the dealerships as much. So it's difficult to and it's difficult because like there's bad eggs in both camps, right? Like there's some dealerships that do some shady practices, that do take advantage of people. And then there's some consumers who think the absolute worst of dealerships. I want to connect educated buyers to good dealerships. And that's kind of like where my mission lies. So I just think, the biggest thing I do one of my favorite things to do on the car room is just to set expectations with my followers. Like, here's what's going to happen. Here's how they're going to make money off of you. And like, it's okay because someone's going to make money off of you. Like it's a business. So here's what to expect. Here's what's not okay. Here's what is okay. And I just think, I don't like to teach a type of car buying that's the dealership's going to take advantage of you. We need to watch it every single step of the way. I think that's such an outdated practice. And I think that some of the car buying that gets taught is not consumer friendly or dealership friendly. And quite honestly, it makes it a miserable experience for both consumer and dealership. I mean, do I think you could get a better deal on a car if you called 10 dealerships, got prices, called 10 more dealerships, compared the prices, called 10 more dealerships, and then compared those prices? Yeah, I think you could get a better deal, but who wants to do that? Who wants to do that? So I think that, like I kind of said, like the way I teach car buying is very approachable. It's very no hassle, no haggle, and just really educating people on both sides.
how important in whether it's the car buying process that you teach or in your your social media business, how important has communication been for you?
Oh, communication's been like communication between me and my followers or communication between who?
Yeah, I mean, I think the communication between you and your followers, because I think one of the things that, like, at least I've observed from watching you for a little bit the last few weeks is that connection.
Yeah.
We
So I think that, my authenticity is everything that I have. Like my entire platform is built on me being authentic and transparent and truthful. So every step of the way in any content I put out, I'm always speaking 100% like unfiltered in what I actually think. I mean, I'm very selective with any sort of partnerships I ever do. I say no to probably about 90% of the partnerships I'm offered because I just am so protective of my audience and of my integrity. So I think that that's been really key in good communication with my followers. And I also just really feel like I speak their language. I mean, I honestly spend probably more time than I should in my DMs on Instagram, but to the point where like I know exactly what my audience wants. I know exactly how they want me to tell it to them. I know exactly what's going to resonate, what won't resonate. I just have a really good temperature on what everyone's going to like. So I think really being familiar with your audience and spending time in your DMs and asking, I mean, I ask question boxes all the time. Like, what do you guys want to hear? How can I help? What questions do you have? And I read all of the responses. So that's been really helpful.
Well, I think it gets back to like what you said a couple minutes ago, right? It's an industry that, for the consumer has, like, over, just for decades, has kind of eroded the average consumer's trust, and there's doubt and there's question and concern. So for you, I mean, like you said there, sometimes turning down opportunities is better than taking opportunities. You said, I think 90% of the things that you're offered, you turn down, because I would imagine that so much of what you've built is predicated on that trust that you described. And this show is called Everybody Pulls the Tarp. It's all based upon a philosophy that I have, that great organizations and great teams are powered by individuals who do unexpected things. So leaders who go above and beyond, teammates who go above and beyond. And one of the common themes, whether it's a CEO, a best-selling author, a social media influencer like yourself, an Olympic athlete, is the integrity and the authenticity. They all come back to integrity and authenticity, and it's really easy. It's really hard to build, and it's really easy to burn down.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that you have to protect, and I think it's interesting there how you talk about it. How do you think about kind of what's next for the Car Mom and Kelly as an entrepreneur?
I have no shortage of ideas. I mean, I don't know. Like I always say, like I just feel like God gave me this idea, and He's continued to feed it every single day. I mean, every day I wake up with a new idea to the point where it's like I'm happy I have a team because like they have to start filtering some of my thoughts. I want to turn the car business upside down, and I want to turn the car business upside down, the dealership side, and I also really want to kind of change the way manufacturers build cars and market cars to women. Women buy 51% of the cars on the road. And I still feel like the cars are not marketed appropriately to us. I feel like we're not their ideal buyer. They're not talking about the features that we actually care about. And that's been frustrating to me, quite honestly. I mean, one of the biggest things that just really like still to this day gets me is Jeep, not trying to trash Jeep, but Jeep put out their brand new Grand Wagoneer, which is now their new 3-row SUV. It's huge. It's the size of a Yukon. And they described, I watched the press release. It was like a video, and they described their ideal Jeep Wagoneer buyer as an individual who likes to go sailboating on the weekends. And I'm like, does he? Like, I'm pretty sure it's a 3-row SUV. I'm pretty sure that thing's going to spend a lot of time in the Target parking lot. And like, just to like completely disregard that 3-row SUV. I mean, that's not a sailboater is going to be your ideal buyer. Are you kidding? It's a mother. It's going to be a mother's vehicle. It's going to be a family vehicle. And I just get so frustrated when the vehicles aren't built or thought with mothers in mind. So I'm really excited about where I'm going to go on the manufacturer side. And then I'm also really excited about where we're going to go on the dealer side. And I like love that I get to do both because I'm super passionate about both.
I think the word there, like you said, is passion, right? I mean, you being passionate and knowledgeable about both, I think is a powerful combination. One of the things that I've always found throughout my career is when you're able to unite personal interests and passions with professional interests and passions, you create this kind of unstoppable combination. And people, I think like to talk about work-life balance. I like to talk about work-life integration, because I think when you bring together your work and your life, you create this powerful platform, regardless of what you're doing, that serves you well and serves others well, because you're happy, you're more content, you feel more energy and passion about what you're doing, and then in turn you're able to, as I always say, pull the tarp. You're able to serve others well. So, I mean, what advice do you have for people who are kind of searching for how to kind of weave that tapestry together of their personal and professional interests, just like you have?
Yeah, I think that, one of the biggest quotes that ever changed my life was by Leo. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. His first name's Leo. And his quote is, um, your talents are God's gift to you, and what you do with them is your gift to God. And I think just really taking a step back and looking at what your God-given talents are, and then figuring out how you can use those in your everyday life in a way that helps people, you will 100% be fulfilled in whatever you're doing. And it can be small scale, it can be large scale. But when I really looked at, because I was struggling, I mean, when the pandemic hit, I had no idea what I was going to do. I was pregnant. I looked up the cost of childcare for 2 kids. I was working part-time at the dealership. I was like, am I just going to become a stay-at-home mom? Like, is that just what I'm going to do next? Like, I honestly thought that's what was going to be my life. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because that's what my mom did. And that's what a lot of my friends were doing. But I was just like, I don't really feel like I'll feel fulfilled if I do that. But I was like, I also can't sit here at a car dealership anymore. So like, how can I use the gifts that I've been given? And my gifts are, my gifts are that I'm literally able to get anyone excited about anything. That's why I'm a good salesperson. And that I really enjoy helping people. And I love being a mother, and I'm a good mother. So I think using those gifts and being able to being able to combine like the 2 hardest things I've ever done in my life, which are selling cars and becoming a mom, into something that I love, has just been like a dream come true. I mean, every day I wake up excited to get started at it.
How do you let's I mean, it's clear that you do, Kelly. I mean, like that just kind of like oozes from you, right?
Yeah.
The fact that you're passionate about both, motherhood, your family, and then cars, and not only all of that, but using that as a vector to help other people feel empowered and feel more confident. Let's go back a minute, because I'm thinking about what you said earlier about all these ideas. And you've got your team, and you mentioned your sister and somebody else that works with you that kind of help you filter these ideas. For any high performer out there who is listening and just is inundated with their own ideas, can't get out of their own head, right? Every single day is, the list of ideas is piling up. How do you guys go about filtering those ideas down to things that you're going to focus on? Because I think that applies to any aspect of life.
So one thing that because I mean, the great part about having all these ideas is that I'm a content creator. So like I always have a place to go. So like I always have like for example, like the day we're recording this is the day after the Met Gala. So like yesterday I'm thinking about the Met Gala, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I should compare a car to a Met Gala look. Like, why did I think of that? Like, and Elizabeth and Becca who work with me, like, that's so funny. Like, if it's like a super futuristic look, like we'll do the Hyundai Palisade. Like, for example, Kim Kardashian, she came out in all black, so then we compared her to a Nightfall Kia Telluride. So the great part of being a content creator is I have a place to go. So I would say, if you are an entrepreneur and you have all of these ideas and you're not content creating, well, content creating is a really great outlet for me to be able to kind of express myself. But then kind of a way that they keep me focused and keep me on track is we are very diligent to kind of choose like a topic of like, and it doesn't have to be like, I don't want to put myself in boxes, but like this week we want to focus on trading in a vehicle. So I kind of hyper focus my things on like everything that has to do with trading it in. So that's a payoff sheet, that's prepping your trade, that's negotiating your trade price, that's what should you fix, what should you not fix, that's where's your owner's manual, do you have all the service. So like I really just focus on one aspect of my business, and then that helps us stay on track. So I don't know if that's good advice or not, but if you're not content creating, start content creating, because it's a great outlet.
Well, one of the things about content creating, right? That I enjoy about creating this podcast every week and other content that I create is that it helps me crystallize ideas, right?
Sure.
It helps me explore ideas that I'm thinking about, whether it's about leadership, teamwork, career development, success, family, business, whatever it is. It helps me crystallize. And I always get this question all the time. People say, well, Andrew, like, how do you figure out who the guests are going to be on the show? Because you have everybody from 3-time Olympic gold medalists to professional baseball players to best-selling authors to the host of Dancing with the Stars to the car mom to scientists. And I mean, there's too many ideas, right? Like, I've got notebooks all over the house. When an idea pops in, I write it down. Then I have a sheet on the computer, and I have a list probably of hundreds of people that I want to interview or have interviewed. And the same, like you, Kelly, topics that I want to explore. And for me, people also ask about the preparation. Like, how prepared are you for each of these conversations? And I try and, like in your case, right, follow you on social media a little bit, try and understand a little bit about you and what you're doing. But I don't like to be too prepared either.
Yeah.
There's a fine line, because my biggest strength is my curiosity.
I totally agree.
And I want to go down rabbit holes that I wasn't necessarily, anticipating, for sure.
Yeah. I'm kind of the same way. Like, when I do my car tours, I don't like to do a lot of research about the cars because, one, I don't love to watch other creators or other reviewers review cars, because even if I don't mean to, I might steal things. I mean, because, you watch someone do a review and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to say that. Or so I always want my reviews to be unique and individual. And I also really like to explore things live on camera for the first time. So if I film a Ford Explorer tour, I didn't spend an hour in the Ford Explorer before I started filming. It is a live reaction of what I'm thinking and how I'm experiencing it, just like you would feel if you went to a dealership for the first time. So I totally agree with you. I do not like to be over researched for any of my topics.
Kelly, before we wrap up, I think where I want to kind of end is really around kind of what your story can do for people, regardless of what their interests are, right? Whether it's a mom, a dad, somebody who doesn't have kids, wherever age you are. I think the message in your story, or one of the messages in your story, is that it's always a good day to start something, right? It's always a good day to empower yourself and empower others. How do you think about when you put the cars aside and the car reviews aside, how do you think about your mission and what it means?
I think that I think my mission is very much to prove to the world that I think corporate America especially has been sleeping on one of their greatest resources, and that is mothers. I mean, mothers are faced with the difficult decision every single day to choose motherhood or choose a career, because the world's not set up for us to do both. I mean, schools get out at 3 and corporate America closes at 5. Well, that's stupid. How does that work? And I know that mothers are the hardest workers, the best multitaskers, some of the most innovative, smartest people out there, and and no one wants to do anything with them. And that just really saddens me. So when I look at my team specifically, one of the girls on my team, and I almost think her story will speak more to the audience than my story. And she reached out. So she was a stay-at-home mom. She reached out to me. She was like, I love your mission. I'm so passionate about it. I have a background in marketing. Can I help you with anything? And I kind of ignored it because I was like, I don't have any money. I cannot bring on a person. So I told her, I was like, hey, appreciate the offer. We're just not at a place to hire on anyone. She's like, I'll do anything for free. She's like, I just want to help. And I just want the chance to be a part of it one day, because she just believed in what we were doing. And now I pay her very well. And she has completely created a very flexible career. And what we do at the Car Mom is, your kids can be on Zoom. You have a sick day. We need to meet after bedtime. We need to meet during nap time. You need to call me when you're cooking dinner. I just am so, because guess what? We get the work done. What me and Becca and Elizabeth can get done in a 45-minute nap gap is what most people could get done in an 8-hour workday. So did I answer your question? I'm not sure. But I just, I guess I don't know. I went on a tangent. I'm sorry.
No, you answered it better than I could have ever asked it, Kelly, because that story is exactly what we're talking about on Everybody Pulls the Tarp.
Yeah.
It's all about doing the unexpected, going outside the boundaries of what's expected of you, right? This person reached out to you and said, I want to help. I believe in a mission that you had created. You said, I have no money to pay you. She said, I'll work for free because I believe in the mission. And now you're creating a platform for her to fulfill her dreams and her objectives. That's far beyond the expectations of what anybody could have gone into this thinking this could be. So you answered the question better than I asked it, Kelly. And for that, I'm grateful. And I'm particularly grateful for the last 30 minutes we've gotten to spend together. I am so glad that my wife pointed me towards your Instagram account. And let me tell you out there, whether you're a mom, a dad, whether you have kids, whether you don't have kids, whether you've bought a car recently or you're buying a car recently, you've got to follow the Car Mom, because whether it's the food tips, the kombucha reviews,
we do
I
a
mean,
lot. We do a
you-
lot.
you're doing it all, Kelly. Thanks for pulling the tarp. Thanks for spending some time with me. And I can't wait to keep tabs and see where you take all this next.
Thanks so much, Andrew.